All right, hey everybody, welcome to Livegrade Advanced. We have Aaron Pico, Chandler Tucker, Chase Abrams. All three of them are DITs, two in LA, Chandler's in New York. Tons of experience with Livegrade and POM4 workflows, and they're going to show you an advanced viewpoint on a bunch of different tools and different ways to work with things and different ways to verify that what you're doing on set is working all the way through post. And so with that, I'll hand it off to Aaron Pico.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron Pico. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the intro, Jamie. We are going to do our best to keep the demonstrations highly informative today, but as concise as possible so we can give you time to get all your questions in. We're going to have time for Q&A, like he said, between segments. So hopefully that'll keep things in line moving forward. If you have a question, post it on the chat board. Right, Jamie? Just post it as a chat.
Yeah, you can post it as a chat or raise your hand digitally from the participants panel, and we'll get to you.
Jamie will get to you, and we'll get the questions addressed. If we run a little long, we can have the breaks like he was talking about. I just want to give a shout out to the POM4 team for the latest beta. There's a lot of really useful features added, and I believe it was due in a large part to our discussions here on Zoom. So thanks very, very much to them for listening to us and working with us on this. I'll be sure to go over most of the updates today as part of the discussion. So lots to cover. So let's get going. We did a video called Livegrade Workflow Demo a while back. And so if you're new to Livegrade and you weren't with us for that demo or you haven't watched it on YouTube, I would suggest that you do so. Today's session, we're going to build upon some of the ideas and instructions from that previous session. And today's session looks like this here, which I think most of you probably saw that screenshot posted to the forum where you have now clicked your link. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second, and then we'll get started. So here we go with the Elgato Stream Deck. This, I feel, is this, or a button tool, a multifunction button tool like this. I think for Livegrade it is essential to have. So just get one. Why do you want to use a Stream Deck? Why do you want to use this cool little thing with Livegrade? Well, you can program most of Livegrade's functions to be a single key press. You can spend less time with the eyes on your computer screen, more time with your eyes on the grading monitor and what's happening live, especially once you kind of get the muscle memory down with your left or right hand, whichever you're using for the Stream Deck. It's going to help you get powerful control over your video routing commands, and we'll get into that. And really using one of these things promotes speed and control. That's why I love it so much. Now, for the first time, POM4 has provided a Livegrade Stream Deck profile, which is available with the 5.2 beta. This pre-built profile that they shared makes the Stream Deck actually ready to use out of the box. So if you just want to use their profile, basically plug in the Stream Deck, load up the profile, and you can start using it right away. Nearly all of the commands have been given an action button, which I'll show you in a minute. So less setup is needed to customize it to your liking. You'll need to customize still for, like, if you want to do multi-actions or hotkey switches and video routing presets, which I'm going to show all that too. And I will do a new share. I'm going to show my desktop here. So you should be seeing now my Stream Deck configuration screen. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks. I don't have a kind of return feed of what we're seeing, so just a little confirmation and stuff. I'll just ask for that from time to time. So this is kind of a blank window. So what you see on the screen, what you see on these little buttons is what's actually going to appear on the Stream Deck itself. It's got like little OLED. Each button is like a little OLED screen. So if you want to put a key on here that's going to do something, they call that a hotkey. So I would just slide hotkey right there. Now it's going like, okay, that's a hotkey. What do you want to call it? And what do you want to do? What do you want to have Livegrade do when you push this button? So it can be, you can click to assign anything, any kind of keystroke like Option Z or Command V or Control Option Command E or something, any combination of kind of keystrokes. Also, they give you a drop-down menu with kind of all these cool, function keys, numericals, alphanumerics, all this kind of stuff is ready for you. Left, right, up, down arrow keys. It's all there. So what I'm going to show you is creating, I'm going to do, for example, creating a new library bin. So what I'm going to do is open Livegrade. And let's say I want to have a function from the Stream Deck that creates a new bin in my library. This is my library. I want to create a new bin. So instead of going up here and clicking this button, using my mouse, and looking too much at the screen and looking down at my keys and stuff. So I'm going to look for what the keyboard shortcut is for creating a new library bin. So I'll go to keyboard shortcuts. Over here, I can search. So bin, I'm just going to search the word bin. Okay, new shot library bin. There is no keyboard shortcut for it. Okay, well, I'm going to create one then. I will click map keys. I'll click on the command that I want to create a shortcut for to highlight it. And now it's listening to my keyboard. I can type what I want. So I'm going to make it Shift B. See, it popped up right there. So now the keyboard shortcut for a new shot library bin is Shift B. Well, that's great, but I don't want to push Shift B. I want to push a Stream Deck key. So over here, I'm going to click to assign. I'm going to call it Shift, or call it. I'm going to click Shift B. I can call it new library bin, so that it looks decent in the on the button. So now when I'm in Livegrade, and I click my Stream Deck key that I just made, boom, voila. I know, moving mountains, but it's just a small example of how to. That's kind of like your intro, how to make a key right there. That's the very basics of it. So you can make a hotkey with, here's Livegrade Pro's new options for the buttons they provide for their new profile. And I'm just going to scroll down to show you how many there are. Just about every menu function, just about everything you can do in here, they've given us a key, which is great. So now instead of having to reprogram something, I can just drag. So for most things they provided, you can just drag a new key right there, drag a new key. You can switch it wherever you want. You can have it be over here. You can have it be over here. Okay, I'll show you a multi-action, and that would be somewhere you would find that. Okay, so for example, here's a button that I made, and I called it Apple. And it has 8 actions. And what this multi-action does, very simply, it adds an A to my scene number. So if I'm doing scene 35 and I want it to be scene 35A, we got the shot, we're moving on, going to Apple. Apple's up. That's why I call it Apple. So what you have to do in the global metadata is you have to open your global metadata. You have to add an A. You have to go to take 1, because let's say you were already doing take 6, and you've already captured takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like I have there. You have to add the A, add the 1, and then go back to your tabs view that you were, because you want to concentrate on your color controls. Well, I don't want to do all that. I want to create a multi-function that does that. So it looks like this. This is inside my Apple command. So it's going to do all these things in order rather quickly. So it's going to open my global metadata. It's going to tab down to my scene. It's going to arrow right, add an A, tab down, add a 1, hit return, go back to my tabs. So I know that I like to do this a lot because we always go to Apple on a scene. That's why I built this. So what should happen when I go over to Livegrade, and you can see right here from my clip identifier, I am on scene 35 and I'm on take 6. And if they say, okay, we're going to Apple, okay, I'll hit my Apple button. Okay, so hopefully you saw all that happen kind of quick, but now you can see I'm on 35 Apple and I'm on take 1. From there on, I don't have to do any kind of crazy functions like that because I can just hit the increase scene button, which will increase alphabetically, A, B, C, D. Hopefully you can see it changing right there. But just to add an A onto the scene, that's kind of what I built to be able to do that. Just an example of what you can do with the Stream Deck. And then I'll show you real quick a hotkey switch, which is, I have my record. You can, I'll show you real quick. There's keyboard shortcuts for recording. There's keyboard shortcuts for recording in all slots, but there wasn't one for stop all recordings. And if you're recording the video in all your slots, you can't just hit this command function again. You have to hit a second command function to actually stop the video. So I created a hotkey switch, which is this little guy right here. And what it does is this. When I hit it the first time, it does basically a Shift R. When I hit it a second time, it'll do a Option Shift R. So it's just kind of it's like a if or, on off. If I hit it on, it's doing this. If I hit it off, it's doing this. So I just kind of created that just to do with recording video. So hopefully that all made sense. You can create folders. Where are my folders? Create a folder. So you can go, okay, this is going to be all my video routes. And I'm going to put all my video routes in that folder. You can just drag a button, hold it. Now I'm down a level in that folder. So I can come back up, and you're there, back up. So this top left button always kind of returns you to the previous menu. So I'm gonna go to my top menu, and I'll just talk about some of the useful keys that I use, just as an example. This is basically how I keep it for each job. I have you can select your slots, select your library slot, select your A, B slot, update the look, apply the look, grab a still from the live video A, grab a shot from B, increase your scene and take, bypass your color, bypass your LUT, throw up the false color. These are kind of just custom little images that I added on there. It's really easy to do that. Pomfret, this is Pomfret's new color menu, which is interesting. A lot of different cool controls there. I haven't played much with them yet, but I plan on it. This is a video routing menu. So I have kind of different routes, and I'll get into that next. Copying grade, pasting grades, recording, reloading, all good things to have on your Stream Deck. Do we have, let's see, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this and say, do we have any questions from anybody about setting up or using a Stream Deck?
If anybody wants to ask a question, feel free. You can also post in the chat or raise your hand digitally within Zoom. If not, we can keep going on.
No questions. I'm just going to assume that was perfect, and
yeah,
everybody totally
flawless.
Okay, good to move on.
Is it possible to use the Stream Deck file from the beta 2?
What is? I'm not understanding the question.
On a previous version. So can you download that profile and use it on non-beta?
Yes, I think so. Ooh, yeah, you should, because the Stream Deck is not Livegrade is not controlling the Stream Deck, it's the other way around. So yes, you should be able to create a new profile or use that profile. And then here, I'm gonna actually show you that real quick. That's interesting. So you have all these different profiles you can create. 1 second, excuse me. Let's go into that menu real quick. I'll show you the preference menu.
And Paul, just so you know, most of this is just all the buttons are linking to like hotkeys that you can program yourself. So the one thing you might run into is on a previous version, the hotkeys just might not be set up the way they are in the new beta. So you'll just have to retweak the shortcuts.
Yeah, any way that you've customized Livegrade, if you're messing around in the beta, none of your keys have been mapped or anything. So I think once that comes out of beta, then you just do a regular kind of check for updates and it should work fine. So
that's one thing that makes it tricky to share profiles with people is that the way you mapped out your keys on your Livegrade is different than someone else's, you know?
That's true. Yep. So this is the profile here that I was using when I created it. You choose which application it's going to work for. So if I wanted to use this with non-beta, I just go find it and use it with my non-beta version. I have one for SilverStack, one for Resolve, one for Finder, one for Chrome. So basically like any application you have on your computer. And it's cool because if you switch, I don't know if it won't actually show it, but if you if you could see my Stream Deck right now, if I switched like to the Finder, you would see all my buttons on my Stream Deck switch over to like that. And then when I actually activate it, when I switch back over to Livegrade, the buttons would automatically just switch to that. So it's cool. However many apps you want to use your Stream Deck for, it's whatever one is in the foreground is what is presented in the Stream Deck for it. Anything else with that?
Are most people using the 15 key or the 32 key? Is it just too big?
I use the 15. I think most people do. I know a few people that have the 32. Too big depends on you. Depends on how much space you have in your cart and how many functions you want to add. I rely, like I said, on the folders to kind of go into the different functions and stuff like that. I don't even know if I have 32 functions that I use at all, much less the ability to go into more folders and just multiply that by 2. So
and Luke, just so you know, you can
really
create
good.
folders within folders, but you can also do pages. So you can do like, you know, what you're seeing on screen right now, and then you can have a page up, page down button. I think it's what, 99 pages.
Is that with Companion?
Maybe that's with Companion, but I thought you could do it in Stream
like
Deck.
a third-party companion app you can look
Yeah.
into. I don't personally use it yet or at all, but it's powerful for, I know Jamie used it and a few other people that really love it. So
Yeah, so you could have 99 pages of folders within folders. It's way too much. If you have a need for that, I would be interested to see what you're doing.
yeah, then you might want to get the 32 button.
Yeah.
Or a couple of them. But this thing is, the Stream Deck's only like 4 or 5 inches wide by like 3 or 4 inches long. So
And they make a mini one too that is 6 buttons.
Oh, is it 6? Yeah, yeah, and I know people that have that one too. That's right.
Yeah. Curtis is asking, can you run 2 and have 1 dedicated for the DP?
Yeah, because right here, Stream Deck 1, you can choose which device you want to have. So I've never run 2 at the same time, so I can't personally vouch for that, but stands to reason.
I use 3 at once. They work great, but I don't think that Companion supports the 32 button panel yet. I mean, the Stream Deck app, Companion controls everything, and also non-Stream Deck products if you have other buttons.
Yeah, Curtis, just to answer your question, I did a very similar thing where I have the mini, the 6-button one, and I had it set up for the DP, and I had routing presets for him so he could look at live or log for 4 cameras. And it was totally independent of what I was doing because he was only routing the buttons or the outputs on my router that was feeding his leader. You know what I mean? So it's great to give that kind of control to a DP.
How are we doing? We want to move on, or we have some more we want to talk about the Stream Deck? Yes, move on. Okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
So let's move on to video routing within Livegrade. Why do you want to video route? Why do you want to have video routing within Livegrade? Well, as the DIT, you have the responsibility to control where the video signal is going at all times, right? So the signal is coming into your cart, and you need to send it out to the rest of the set, all monitors. You always need to know who is seeing what without your own visual verification of all the screens on the set. So if you have it all mapped out, you already know that if you push that button, who's seeing what. So using the routing presets allows you to instantly send and switch video to as many destinations as your router has available with one button push. So I know Blackmagic routers have the macros and the AJA routers have the salvos, but doing it this way in Livegrade just kind of keeps everything nicely in the one app. I think using video routing presets promotes readiness and speed and confidence. So let's get into setting it up. So first thing I would do, I'm just going to share my router setup. So hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
So this is my AJA UI setup window for my Kumo 3232. And what I've done is for every single in and every single out source destination, I have it labeled for what it is. So these four are the log signals coming in. These are LUTbox returns. This is the Demon quad out. Feeds from my deck link, video outs from the deck link going into an input. Box IOs, I don't have to explain all this stuff other than just to say, whatever it is, give it a nice little concise label, because it's going to make a lot of sense why you did that when we get into Livegrade. Also, make sure, I probably should have said at first, make sure you're on a static IP on your network. That's going to help keep it the same IP address. And then I think I can switch over. There's nothing else to show there, right? Let's see. Okay, I'll switch over to Livegrade. One moment. All right. Get rid of that. You can see my Livegrade screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I want to show you, first of all, the video routing configuration screen, which looks like this. This is, sure a lot of you already do this, so this is just for those of you who never have. So you can see that it's looking for my AJA Kumo. It found my IP address. It'll kind of auto find it too. It's got a auto dedicated video router. But if not, you can just type it in. And then you fetch the in and out information. This is going to actually kind of call up the buttons. So if I'm creating a new preset, it's going to give me one in, one out. So I can start making decisions. I can always hit plus and add more, or minus and subtract, depending on how many routes I want to switch. So if I click my output, here you can see all those buttons that I named in the UI, the router UI setup window. So I'll pick, let's say, like quad 4. I'm going to change something in the 4th quadrant on my Demon quad. All right, and then here's all my inputs. What do I want to be on the quad? Let's have my deck link video out from Livegrade. Okay, so when I choose this video routing configuration, it's just going to change that one thing. Let's save. I'll call it deck link I gave it a name. There we go. So now if I look in my video routing drop-down menu, you can see, looks like I made one before. Here's the one I just made. Thankfully quad 4. So I can click it from there and it'll apply that routing configuration, but I don't want to click it from there. I want to click it from my Stream Deck. So what do I have to do? First of all, I have to create a keyboard shortcut for it. So let's search that I just made. I don't even have to search, it's right here. Livegrade video routing. There it is, DeckLink Quad 4. It needs a button. We'll give it something ridiculous that I'll never use, like Control Option Command Q. Okay, cool. Now it's got the keyboard shortcut. Back to my Stream Deck. Go into my routing presets here. I already made it. I'll make it again. Hotkey, drag it up there. That's going to be, what was it? Control Option Command Q. No, I don't want it to be called that. I want it to be called something else. So DeckLink Quad 4. So I probably am not going to be changing what's on my quad, my fourth quadrant on my Demon Quad that much, so that I have to create a hotkey on the Stream Deck, maybe. But this is basically just to show you how to get it done. Right. So now it's a Stream Deck key. It changed a routing configuration, a small one. Let's do one that's a little more involved. Let me go to new configuration. Now, if you don't want to mess around with setting one and then hitting plus, and then setting another one and then hitting plus, just say load all connections. Yep, it's going to override everything I've just done. That's fine. Okay. You currently have these options. These are the things that you've named. All right. Let's say I want to create a video routing preset to change all the monitors to what a camera is doing. When would you do that? When they say, okay, we're going one camera, a camera only. Okay, I don't need to show people 2, 3, 4 different cameras that are not doing anything. I'll just show them the one camera. And it'll be from my LUT box because that's the colors that I want everyone to see, not the log feed. So I can kind of just start deleting destinations that I don't want to have change. Do I want to change what's going into my LUT boxes? No. Okay, let me get rid of those. Do I want to change what's coming into my deck links? No. So you follow me. I'm just going to start deleting what I don't want to change. Do I want it to change on my leader? Yes, I do want the LUT image, the LUT box A camera image to show up on my scope screen. If it's not already, this will force it to happen. Each one of my monitors on my cart, and then I have patch 5 through 12. You could call that sound, video village, director, whatever, or whatever monitors, however many monitors you have. Turn them all into, I choose LUT A, so they see the LUTed image. Except for maybe this one. I still want to see my out from my Livegrade, my video out from my Livegrade, but that's just for me. So I've customized that how I want it. Save it. I'd call it a cam only. And then I would have a nice video routing preset that changes all that. I'm not going to hit OK because I already have one. I have a B cam only. And I have one for 2 cameras. If it's A and B camera, okay, let's say I was in A camera only and I want to just, okay, we're going back to 2 cameras. One button on the Stream Deck, boop. Everyone's seeing A and B camera on the correct monitors where they're supposed to be. And I know that just from being able to look down, push the button, I know what's where. Look at my notes, see if there's anything else I wanted to mention.
Can I comment on this real quick?
Please.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, I was telling Curtis in the chat that like if you have a separate Stream Deck, just for like, let's say the DP, you can, can you bring up that window again? You can like deselect, say you have 32 inputs and outputs, you can select just 2 ins, 2 outs. And when the DP presses like a cam log, They want to see that on their leader.
You want to see this? This is the window you want to see?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like they're now not changing your entire routing config. They're only changing discrete connections that you give them. So it's awesome. It's a really great way to just let them route. Like if they just want to see on their leader, like A log or A LUT, B log, B LUT or whatever, or even a quad split, like they can control that on their own and they don't have to ask you to route stuff. So it's awesome. It's a great little tool.
I have a tool, I have a function for, I don't think I actually have it in this beta version, but I have a, if you want, it's kind of fun. This guy, it's my kill them all function. So if I just want to kill all video from all monitors right away, it just routes all my destinations to something, a source that's not getting any video. So everything just goes black. You can imagine all the uses, all the fun you could have with that.
Spontaneous nude scene.
It's your responsibility to make sure that everything gets back to routed the way it's supposed to be. Okay, questions on that? Questions on video routing within Livegrade?
Yeah, it's actually a good question we have coming in here. It says, how often do you use the control panel on the AJA now that there's so much control inside Livegrade and with the web remote?
Increasingly less,
Yeah.
I would say. I used to have it kind of on my cart in a place that was very prominent, like right up underneath, like, you know, top unit of the rack, where I could just kind of reach my thumbs down and start going to town on switching routing. But now that I don't need to very much, it's less prominent. I can move it down a ways. I definitely still use the control panel, without a doubt, but not as much.
I personally feel like I could get by without a, sorry to interrupt. I personally feel like I could get by without a control panel now.
Good, sure. Yeah, and also because you have the, you know, you can always use the
web interface.
Yeah, the web UI.
Yeah, web interface is really great.
Yeah. You can use this right here to do your routes. So you can just click that and switch your route right here, which is cool if you're, you know, if you're building a nice mobile rig or a nice tight thing and you want to save some rack space. You don't have to have the control panel. You can just use this. And I'm going to actually, I want to ask Chase, if you're in a good spot, can you show the Livegrade Studio routing functions?
Yo, yeah, yeah. Hey guys. So Livegrade Studio gives you the ability to adjust your switcher within the GUI. Let me demo this. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen. See desktop. All right. So just very simply put, if you go up here in the right-hand corner, there's a router button. You click that and you fetch your information. There's my router info. Press the little play button and you have this nice little clean GUI. Say I just wanted to switch my my quad, what's feeding the A camera quad to what's coming out of C camera's LUT box. I would just drag it from the destination to the source and it'll switch. And I could do that endlessly. So it's just really nice. This is useful for a number of things. The two things that immediately come to my mind are if you can't access the front of your panel and are working on your mobile rig, or very simply put, it's just nice that you don't have to leave Livegrade in order to do this. So it's just more flexibility. And yeah, if anybody has any questions.
Jamie, how we doing? Any more questions on that?
I think we can move on. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's move on to revisiting stills and video capture, and Mr. Chandler Tucker is going to take it from here.
Yep, I'm gonna grab control here. All right.
Patrick Renner, pay attention. This is for you.
I'm listening.
All right. So let's talk about grabbing stills and video within Livegrade. So what are the benefits of taking stills and video? So it provides you with continuity throughout a scene, throughout your day, throughout an episode, throughout an entire season, or whatever sort of project you're working on. For example, a commercial or something like that. So the beautiful thing about this is that you can pull up references to either match location to location, if you're making transitions from one scene to another, or if you simply just want to keep color and lighting continuity as you move throughout a scene. The other really nice feature about this is that you can actually go back and grade your files after the fact. I personally work with a lot of DPs who halfway through a scene would change their mind on color, or maybe they want to make some adjustments to the whole contrast of the scene. You can just simply go back and rematch your previous shots to what you're currently doing. Also, if you run into a situation where the lighting changes due to weather or time of day, you're just running out of daylight, and you just can't make your current shots match your previous shots, you can always go back and match your previous work to what you're currently shooting. So where this is really helpful is that in the past, a lot of times we were stuck with the files being just what we did live in the moment. And so when we would hand off these files to post or to a dailies house, we have to make a whole bunch of notes saying, hey, can you please match these clips to this clip? We're just really relying on someone else to make sure the color matched the way we wanted it to. That is no longer the case. Now we can go back and make adjustments to everything. And it just, when we hand it off at the end of the day, we know for sure that color is exactly how we and the DP want that color to look. Finally, it allows you to provide quality stills for dailies and posts to make sure that they can accurately match your grades. So this is just kind of a fail-safe system. They can pull the still up when they're matching your CDLs. And that way, if for some reason you had an export error or something didn't get labeled properly, they can quickly see that this file did not match the still that you're sending, and they can either make the adjustment themselves or they can reach out to you and request a new CDL. So let's talk about actually grabbing stills. There's need to make a clear definition between shots and stills. You'll find a lot of times that we'll use the word stills interchangeably when we talk about creating files inside of Livegrade, but they're technically called shots. And the reason being is that there's a little bit of a distinction. Shots are actually stored in the shot library within Livegrade, and they contain metadata. They can also be manipulated after the fact, where when you grab stills from a video source, or if you're using a Box.io and you're just using the frame grab feature, those are actually just graded stills, nothing else. They'll be exported with a file name, but they contain no metadata. You can't edit them after the fact or anything like that unless you're making corrections on top of an already graded image. So as you can see below here, you have a couple of options for key commands to grab either shots or stills. And then you've also got some UI buttons, which I'll show you right here. This is where you're going to create a shot. So if we've got this right here, we create a shot. This creates a new shot here. And what's nice about this is, as I said, you bring this up in the viewer, you can bypass your color, you can go to your log image, all that's adjustable after the fact. If we come in here and we grab a still from one of these slots, that's all it's doing. It's just grabbing a still, nothing else. So next we want to talk about recording video. So the benefit of recording video is that you have a lot more control than when you're just grabbing shots. You can actually go in after the fact and pick the exact frame that you want to use, either for your thumbnails or for the files that you're exporting out as your still references. As you're just sitting there trying to grab shots on the go, a lot of times you might grab something where someone just isn't looking that great, or maybe there's some motion blur or something like that. Don't have to worry about that when you're recording the video, because you can just go in and pick the exact frame that you want. When you let Livegrade record the video for you as well, you really don't have to waste your time focusing on trying to constantly grab the right shot. Or I know a lot of people will just kind of grab them every couple of seconds as they go. But again, you're not having to focus on that. You can focus all of your attention on your monitors. You can focus your attention on making color correction, watching your scopes, all the stuff you really should be doing. You can just leave Livegrade to record the video for you. The other key benefit is going to be that instead of filling your folders with hundreds or thousands of random shots and then having to go through later and pick out the ones you like, you're just going to end up with a couple of video files, and then you can pick everything you want from there. So something to note when we're recording video is going to be your global metadata field here that Aaron briefly spoke about. So if we're going to be recording video, we want to make sure that we add the take indicator so that you're adding takes to your metadata. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of files that say take one, and it's going to be really hard for you to note the difference between the takes. So you want to make sure that you include that. Currently, Livegrade does not increase the take number for you after recording is done. So you're going to make sure that once you finish recording a file, you just increase your take number. Do keep in mind that if for some reason you start rolling and you've forgotten to increase any information, it's not really a problem, as Livegrade does not store any of the information until the file is completed. So you can go into your global metadata and make adjustments to any of this information while the file is being recorded. You can also, if for some reason you just absolutely forget to increase the take, or maybe you get surprised and the camera assistants lettered up and didn't tell you, you can always go here into the metadata itself and make adjustments after the fact to any information that you need to. The only thing you do need to keep in mind is that Livegrade, when saving these video files, saves the log files based on the clip identifier that you set up. So when you're setting up your wildcards, just set that up to a clip identifier that makes sense to you. So it will save the file using that name. So if you do save a file with the wrong take and you need to adjust the take or the scene indicator or anything like that, if you're using those files for anything after the fact, so let's say you're taking it over to SilverStack, like the way that I use my workflow, or you're just saving those for archive purposes or something like that, you're going to want to go into the Finder and make sure that you actually change the file name to match the clip identifier adjustments that you've made. Another feature that would actually be really nice to see within Livegrade that we don't currently have would be the ability to select multiple clips at a time and change the metadata for all of those clips. So let's say you need to change the white balance for a number of clips, or you're recording 8 cameras at once and you have the wrong take. It'd be really nice if we could go in and just make an adjustment to all of those. So before we can do anything with these video files, we actually need to set up our settings for video recording. It's going to be in your preferences, recording. First thing we're going to talk about is the record format. Obviously, if you're in a position to record the highest settings possible, go for it. That may not always be the case if you're running a really ultralight rig, you just don't have the storage space, or maybe your system just can't handle something of that nature, then you can go in and make adjustments to the files as you wish. Obviously, again, you want to record the highest settings possible so that when you're pulling these up as references, they're matching your footage as much as you possibly can. Here you're going to set the record folder for where these files are saved. Keep in mind that this record folder is recordings for video files and still images. So when you create a shot, it saves a TIFF that matches that thumbnail. So this is where it's going to store those TIFFs alongside any recording, any video files that you save at the same time. Something you need to note is that this folder has to be set to the folder that you're working with within Livegrade. So if you're jumping to another project for something reason or previous season, you need to change this recording folder. Otherwise, so here's an example of files that I can pull up here into the library slot. But if we go to another day, which I don't have it set to, we try to load these shots, it'll load the information, but it doesn't actually load the video or the still or anything of that nature. So you have to make sure that those two line up in order to actually use them. Then we want to talk about the auto record feature. If you're lucky enough to be in a situation where you're actually able to receive the record flag from the camera, then you can use this trigger behavior to actually do the recordings for you instead of having to press the record button yourself. Unfortunately, a lot of times transmitters and receivers will strip this information, so it may not always work out perfectly, but that's why we have a couple options to play with here. If, for example, you're receiving a record flag from only one camera, you can set the trigger behavior to record all. That way, as soon as that camera starts rolling, it'll start recording all of your slots. If you're lucky enough to be in a situation where maybe you're hardlined to every single camera, you can set it to record trigger slots only. This is really beneficial if you have cameras that are rolling late, You're not recording as much footage of just a camera sitting there doing nothing. Or if you have a camera that happens to stand down in the middle of a take, again, it won't even record in the first place. Now, a really nice feature that's been added into Livegrade Studio, if you have a Livegrade Studio, is that you can arm and disarm slots. This is really helpful if you are set up to record all, or you use the record all feature, the GUI button up here. You can disarm a slot if that camera happens to be standing down for the moment, and it won't record any files from that. Also, if you happen to have video capture set up on additional slots, but you're not getting anything from that slot, a lot of times when you grab shots and things like that, it will still grab information for that slot, even if you don't have a camera on that slot. So by disarming those slots, you don't have to worry about that. Let's see, all right. As mentioned before, all of these files are stored in logs, so you can edit them after the fact, but you do have to make sure that you set this up properly within Livegrade. So when you go to your devices and you set up your capture device, down here under capture source, you want to make sure you set that to direct camera output. That way, no matter what you're seeing in Livegrade, it's actually recording the log image. If you set it to LUTbox output, it's actually going to record the graded image that's coming out of the LUTbox instead. And also want to make note, a really cool feature, if for some reason you're running LUTboxes that do not have a stills feature, such as the box IO, I'll take these slots, for example. C and D for me are actually running IS minis. So I can still come in and create a shot. And as you'll see, it will grab a thumbnail for that shot, even if my LUTbox itself is not capable of grabbing stills. So let's talk about a couple of video in and out devices. So there's a whole bunch of products available on the market. These are just a couple of options we wanted to discuss. The first one here on the left is the Blackmagic Decklink Quad 2. This is what I'm currently using. It is a PCIe card. So you either need a slot within your computer or you'll have to run an external chassis to run this card. It can be either AC powered or 12 volt, depending on the setup that you have. The really nice thing about this card is that it has 8 bidirectional connections. So you could technically have 8 inputs, you could have 8 outputs if you need that for any reason, or any combination of the two. Most of the time I'm running 4 inputs, 4 outputs, and I have various different programs that I use that are hard set to those outputs, so I don't have to constantly switch my card to the different program as I go into it. But the really nice thing is that if you're working on a big production, you can record up to 8 recordings at once. Next, we have the Aja IO 4K. This is a nice self-contained device. It connects via Thunderbolt 2. It is currently set up as a 12-volt DC port, but it does come with an included AC adapter if you do want to run it off of AC power. This device has 3 inputs and 1 output. Finally, we have the Blackmagic Mini Recorder. This is really helpful if you're running an ultralight setup or something a little more mobile. This just connects over Thunderbolt and is actually powered over Thunderbolt, so you don't have to worry about an additional wall wart or trying to find a way to run DC power to it. This is just 1 input though. This has no output. If you want output out of your device, you would need something like the mini monitor. So we've got these stills and videos that we've recorded. What can we actually do with them? So the nice thing is that we can pull them up into the viewer. So once we have these files here, there's a couple of different ways that you can pull up your viewer. Once you've selected a particular slot, one second. Once you've selected a particular slot, you can press Command P. You can right click on the slot and show in viewer, or you can also just double click the image and it will bring up your viewer. Once you have this up in your viewer, you can actually, if you have an output, you can set this as an output on your system, and this can also be displayed up on one of your monitors for the DP to reference, so he's not having to look at your GUI monitor. Once we have this loaded into the viewer, we can then go and select our reference shot, We have a couple of ways of setting that as the reference image. You can press the F key, or you can right click on the image and use as a reference. This then brings up that shot as a reference within your viewer, and then you can just go through and do whatever's best to see your shots. Since this is a video, I can come in and pick the exact frame that I want, get my actor up on screen, and there we go. You also have the option of flipping your reference to the right or left, top or bottom, even use it as an overlay. And once you have that in there, you can also flip along the vertical and horizontal axis. So why is this important? So what you want to try and do is you want to try to anticipate your DP's needs and have these references up and available for them before they actually ask for them. So try to load your references ahead of time. So if you know that you're in a location that you've shot at before, you can pull up that location before, show the DP what you worked with last time if you're trying to match that location. You also can pull up the previous scene if you've already shot it. That way you can see what you're transitioning from. Or as you move throughout a scene, you can just pull up references to make sure that from setup to setup, you're getting constant color and lighting continuity. Earlier, I mentioned the ability to go in and post-grade your files. So a lot of times you might actually want to reference two stored images or videos themselves instead of with your live image. So the way to do this is to pick a shot. So I'm just going to do a C and B camera here. So we're going to take C camera, we're going to load it into the library slot. This can be done by pressing the Y key, right-clicking and loading in the library slot. Or if you've set this up in your preferences, general, action on double click, you can set that to load in library slot. You double click the file, it'll load it here in the library. As before, we will select the library slot and use the same commands to bring our viewer up. Once we've got that up and we've selected the frame that we like, we can then go into our other shot and we can use that as our reference. We can set the frame that we want to match here. And now we can come in and we can make adjustments and do whatever necessary to climb this up and, get our scope set up and make sure that shot to shot matches. While we're talking about the library slot, I also want to mention these two buttons here, which is the pin button and the L button, the library button. So you'll notice that when I have my viewer up, that as I go from the library slot to one of my live slots, it's actually going to move along with that. So this is really distracting if you're, say, trying to pull up a reference for the DP to look at, but you need to, while you guys are setting up, go in and make adjustments to one of your slots. You can actually come in and pin this, and then as you move around the UE, you don't have any problems with it changing. The library button will allow you to go in, and as you select shots, it will quickly jump between them and automatically load them into the library slot. So as mentioned, you can do post-grading via the library slot. So you can come in here. Once this is loaded in the library slot, you'll see that you have all of your controls just like you do with a live image. So you'll see that color changes as I move between the slots. So I can come into this shot, we can make some adjustments however we see fit. And once we have something that we like, we can then update the shot, or we can create a new shot from there, which will create ourselves a new video file. You can also go in if you want to make adjustments to something and create versions for a DP. You can come in and duplicate a shot, load that in the library, make your adjustments as you see fit, update that shot, and now we have a new version of that shot. And as mentioned before, once we have our viewer up, you can select your library button and then just quickly jump between your different versions for the DP to look at and make a decision as to what they would like to move forward with. Next, I want to talk about pulling stills from video. So as I mentioned, this is a really nice feature to be able to pick the precise frame that you like. So once we have loaded a shot up here, you can then go to the exact frame that you want. Make sure everybody's looking happy and nice and clean. And then you can use your grab still feature right here, and that will export a still to the folder that you've set up. So again, this is really nice to go in and set things exactly as you want them, and not worry about maybe, you know, catching somebody walking through a door or, you know, motion blur or something of that nature. You can also update thumbnails. So what you can do is if we create a new file, I'm gonna have to have all video files, so give me 1 second. So here we just have a shot. And so if I want to actually update that with a different frame, I can come in, set that there. I can then go to library, and I can replace image of selected shot. And as you can see, it has now updated my thumbnail. So this is really nice when you're trying to export reports and you want to make sure that you have really nice thumbnails. You can go in after the fact and update the thumbnails to the exact frame that you like. Unfortunately, there is not currently a way to update thumbnails for video clips. It just uses the very first frame of the video clip. So hopefully that's something we can see fixed in the future, especially if you're going to be making reports just off of video clips and not creating separate shots. So that does it for capturing stills and video. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I've got one here for you, Chandler. On a typical production day, how many terabytes or gigabytes of video do you typically amass in a 2-camera shoot?
Let's see real quick. So this day, for example, 2-camera shoot, I was looking at about 380 gigabytes. I'm currently running a 16 terabyte RAID with set in RAID 0, and I get somewhere between 4 and 5 episodes typically. That's based off of 2 cameras with, I'd say, 1 to 2 days an episode with a 3rd camera. So, you know, again, it's going to depend on what your setup is, how much storage space you have. But using ProRes 422 HQ, you're looking at somewhere between like 300 to 400 gigs a day based on average shooting. Again, this is for episodic, so things will clearly be different with features or commercials.
For sure. Thanks for the update.
Yep, no problem.
Do you ever record like ProRes proxy just to try and get the file size down?
I personally have not, no. Again, I just really want the best settings possible so that when I pull it up as a reference, that image is as close as possible to what's coming out of the camera for me.
Could you just show again the video pin function in the library slot?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So here we have the viewer, and if I have this pinned, we have this video up in the viewer. So I'm using this shot as a reference for my DP. And then, so as a camera is setting up, I may want to come into a camera here and make some adjustments to the color on that end. But as you can see, as I'm sitting there doing things, making adjustments on, say, my left monitor, my right monitor still has this pinned image here in the viewer. If I unpin, this is now going to follow the slot that I select.
And one more thing, would you mind talking about, again, like the importance of log video, like recording log video on your side and log stills, and why you think that's helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really important to try and make sure that your ACs are sending a log signal out of the camera, not a Rec 709 image. I know a lot of them want to be able to see Rec at their monitors so they can pull focus. But if that's the case, then just try to find some way to add a LUT box to the mix, or hopefully they've got a receiver that can just add LUTs on their end. Or a lot of people I know are using monitors now that you can load a LUT into the monitor. But you want to make sure that at the cart you are receiving log Again, that just gives you the ability to go back after the fact and, you know, we're sitting here, we're actually working with a log file. This is a log video file. So if we, again, go to our hard drive here, and we pull these shots up, this actual file is log itself. It is not a graded image. So it just gives you all that control to go back in and make adjustments after the fact. If we come in and we load in stills that we've taken, oh goodness, okay, there we go. If we load this still, there's nothing I can do about it after the fact. See, no matter what I change settings-wise here, it's already graded. So, I mean, I can make adjustments based off that grade.
Sorry, Chandler, we're looking at your desktop screen right now, not your...
Oh, really? Okay, sorry. Guess my connection is running a little slow. I apologize. And my computer just got kicked off. All right, fantastic. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here.
There's a question to talk about exporting stills and how we can get both log and graded so that you you have that reference.
Yes. 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, all good. If anybody has any other questions too, feel free to put them in the chat, or we can unmute yourself and get your questions answered.
Hey guys, question for you. What are you guys using for recording video on like a 12-volt mobile rig for like multiple cameras? Is there any, are you guys like actually getting your Blackmagic quads to work over 12-volt, or is that just too much wattage?
I'm not personally set up with DC power yet, so I can't answer that question with the Quad 2. I'm still running off the AC power, but I'm hoping to fix that soon, so maybe I can answer that for you. But currently, I do not have DC power, but some of the other guys might be able to answer that.
Yeah, the IO 4K works on 4-pin power for 12-volt XLR. Quad Duo 2, it works in a 12-volt Thunderbolt expander, and it's pretty easy to adapt that power cable over to something, you know, 4-pin to, I think it's a Molex.
Nice.
But then in terms of storage, I think like the Samsung T5 or T7s are probably like a pretty great thing. Of course, you know, when you go mobile, record it on there and then bring it back into your main library, you know.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you guys.
All right.
There we go.
There we go. Let's see if this will work. Of course, of all days, my internet decides to crap out on me. Well, guys, oh, there we go. Okay, 1 second. Get this going again. Good old technical difficulties.
There we go.
All right, are we seeing everything now? There we go, lovely. Okay, so I apologize, Jamie, what were we discussing when I lost connection?
I forget.
I think we're just getting ready to move on to exporting
Okay.
stills, how you can get
Fantastic.
both log and graded.
Great. Oh, yes, that's okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I think
okay,
we're
so we'll get
moving
to that.
on to the next section of the.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Great. All right. So organizing your files and exporting. So we really want to make sure that when you're organizing your files within Livegrade, that you're using clear bin structures. So you want to structure your bins in a way that someone covering you could easily find a particular file if they're asked to pull it up. So, you know, you want to make sure that, you know, you include folders, as you can see here. We've got it labeled as the shoot day, AM or PM break. And then we've got a bin set for CDLs. We've got one set for references. Over here, we've got things set up by episode, and then the actual physical date. And then in this case, the video files are being recorded per setup in separate bins. So just however you need to set it up so that if someone comes in having no idea what's going on, they'd be able to pull up those files and find them. You also want to include any additional bins that might help you find files that you need. So for example, here we see like a dailies reference bin. You could have a bin for the approved shots that you want to keep and actually export later for CDLs or stills. Just some way to separate what you're working from with the files that you're actually going to use to hand off to post. We also want to talk about clip identifier versus clip name. So the clip identifier is what you're using to identify the clips as you use them within Livegrade. So this can be set up however you want, but this is not necessarily going to be the way that the file is exported. So you can set up the wildcards however you choose to export the files to make them nice and readable later on. Clip name, on the other hand, is going to try and match everything up with the actual way that the camera itself is recording the file. So this is really helpful if you're working with, say, color front, where they work off the clip information. You can easily line up CDLs and stills to match those clip files, and it'll line up really nicely over in color front when they bring everything in. We really want to try and start working towards a standardized naming convention for everyone here. So as you can see below, for this file, for example, if this was a CDL, it'll be listed by episode, scene, camera identifier, and then the project name at the end. Why this is really important is that you got to keep in mind that post houses are working with upwards of like 50 projects at a time. And so a lot of times they may come across a folder or a rogue file or something of that nature. And if it's just something really simple like scene 3, take 2, A camera, they have no idea where that belongs. So you really want to try and make sure that you name this with something that if they saw this, they knew, oh, look, this belongs to the GFM project. Here's our episode, here's our scene, here's our camera. Just nice and easy, almost idiot proof, if you will. A lot of times, we have people coming in that are getting paid minimum wage just to like move files over, match things up. They're not the actual people doing the work with the coloring and things of that nature. So these people, you really just got to be explicit with them. You just want to make sure that's easy for anybody to read and to figure out what's going on. Same with your deliverables. You want to make sure these are really straightforward. As you can see, we got folders for CDLs, your footage folder, LUTs, notes, reports, sound stills, so on and so forth. Again, if somebody opens this drive up and is looking at it, they should very easily be able to find the files that they're looking for. It should be very straightforward, all labeled out, all put in the appropriate folders. Within Livegrade, you can actually make files searchable. So one of the nice new features within beta is that your global metadata field, you can set caption here. So as you're recording or as you're taking shots, it can automatically add caption fields. So I'm just going to take this day, for example. Unfortunately, everything was basically in the same location. Well, here we go. Let's do this based off episode. So let's say I wanted to find the hospital room that we were shooting at night. I can now go in, set up hospital room, night, and now all the shots I did in that room at night pull up. And then once I find the file I'm looking for, I can then reveal that print bin. It takes me right to the bin with all the other shots that were done. You can also set up comments. So for example, you might want to use caption to put location information for your file so it's easily searchable that way. But say you want to do a quick search for all the files that you actually want to export out later for CDLs. You might have something like, say, print, and sorry, 1 second. As you can see here, I've set this file. This is the one I actually want to export as my CDL. So now it's really easy to find that file and quickly export it out. A lot of people also use this rating system here, so you can rate shots, especially if you have a whole ton of shots and you want to make it easy to find them later on. So we want to set this to 5 stars. And then we go into our day. Now I want to find all the 5-star shots. It brings them right up to the top. I can now select these 3 and export them for dailies. So now we actually want to talk about exporting your CDLs and stills. So once you've selected the shots that you want to export, and go up to File, Save Selected Shots As, and then you've got a whole bunch of options here for your destination. Typically, you're probably going to be working with CDL exports, so set that to CDL. And then here's where we'd set up that naming scheme. So it doesn't really matter what your clip identifier is. You can set up a custom naming scheme based on wildcards that will export your files using the metadata to a very readable, very concise file name. At the exact same time, if these shots have the stills associated with them that you want to match, you can just go ahead and export your still images at the same time. You can set that preferably to TIFF 16-bit. We want to make sure we give them the best possible image, and you want to make sure that you apply the look to these stills. Now, if for some reason you want to archive log stills and you don't want to actually apply it, and this is maybe something you're using just for yourself, you can turn this off, and as it exports those stills, it'll export it as just the log still. Won't have any grade applied to it at all. Now, let's say you want to go in and you want to create some extra reference files, but you don't necessarily need them to be attached to the CDLs. You can just turn the export look feature off and just export those shots as still images.
Hey, Chandler.
In the event that you're working on a production that maybe doesn't have a clear post-grade workflow yet, you can export what's called a look package. Exporting a look package will export those files in every conceivable format that Livegrade is capable of exporting out. And it will do so in nice, concise bins, which tells the editor at the end where that file is supposed to be. So by doing that, you can select your files, file, export look package right here, and then choose your destination. Finally, we want to talk about ALE exports. So if you're, say, sending files to Assimilate Scratch, you can actually just send them one ALE file that will bring all the information over. So you can select your bin or your folder, file, and export folder export folder for Scratch. Keep in mind, this will export all the metadata information, and it will export your looks, but it does not include the LUT. So you need to make sure that on their end, they are applying the LUT to the footage. You also want to make sure that when you're delivering these files, you're delivering them with the show LUT. That way they have everything they need to actually get the proper grade attached to their files. And now we want to quickly talk about the difference between a PFL and a PFLA. So a PFL file is going to allow you to export the color information of a file without it having any association to anything. So it just literally creates a file with color information that you can apply to any other file you want within SilverStack. So say you want to apply a look from a clip that is from a previous scene, you can save that file and you can apply it to the current footage that you're using. Or maybe for some reason your metadata isn't matching up perfectly from what you did in Livegrade to the files that you're backing up in SilverStack. You can force your color upon a clip by using a PFL file. So I just want to go over that real quick. So let's say this is the look I want to use. So I can select that shot. We'll export that. Let's see, hold on. We will save that selected shot as. We will go with a PFL here. I'm going to save that to the desktop. Now I can go into SilverStack. We can go to our color page, file, import, PFL. There it is. And now this is added in as a look over here. And then all we have to do is right click, apply look to selected clips. And now it forces all that color information. So every node that you have over in Livegrade, the 3D LUT, everything is already applied in one nice little file. So you're not having to load CDLs in, then load your LUT in, like say you would do in Resolve. You know, it's just one nice, easy step. Now the real benefit here is going to be your PFL file. So if you happen to be working with a lot of clips at once, you can export this bin as a PFLA. Save that bad boy. Come back over into SilverStack. We're going to we're going to add clips to the library. Now you may do this either by backing up footage, or in my case, I'm just going to choose recordings that I had from within Livegrade. So we're going to add those new files. Okay. And as you can see here, it's based off of the clip identifier that I had over in Livegrade. And now instead of having to force every single file with a PFL file, I can just come in, I can import PFLA. Here it will make sure that your files are matching up properly. There's a couple of ways that you can match this PFLA file. You can either do it by the clip identifier itself. Clip name is really handy if you're trying to match footage that you've backed up and has the camera name attached to it instead of clip identifiers. It can also be do things based off a time code if you're getting proper time code. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this. And then finally down here, you have the option of taking over metadata from looks to matched clips. So this way, instead of having to import your own metadata into SilverStack, you can just bring all that metadata over from Livegrade. So we're going to apply these looks. And as you can see now, I've got grades on all that. And all my metadata has been nicely added into SilverStack. Then once you have that set, you can come in and if you like, organize this a little bit better. And now I've got everything for scene 19 all here together. Okay. I seem to have lost my presentation. There we go. Okay. All right, so actually that's it. Any questions about that?
A lot to digest. Anybody have any questions or want to see something again?
Sure. Sorry, I tend to speak a little fast sometimes.
Hey, Chandler, it's Pico. I just have two things maybe that you could show real quick.
Sure.
I thought when you were showing how you were going to save a CDL, and it opens up the window.
Of course.
And you showed where you can have the custom naming.
Correct.
Right there, the naming scheme. Go ahead and click customize. Yeah, show them how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, here, instead of having to input this information for every single file, we can just come in and so, I want my episode information to go here. So I would type out, EP underscore, and then I would come down and I would find the, did I select go over it? All right, there it is. I'd find the episode wildcard. I would import it. And then now, when it exports those files, Livegrade is actually going to find the episode information based off of the metadata you had up here in the shot library, and it will insert that information into the file name. So this is really handy. You don't have to go in and do each shot individually. You can just set up a number of wildcards. And again, my clip identifier isn't being used for this, for example. So it uses the metadata to go in and rename these files in a way that's more concise and more readable to those who are looking at it after the fact.
Would you say, would you add oh, I see at the end, you have project.
Yeah, project right there at the end. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and it gives you that little, right below your window, your name window gives you that little example. So it's giving you a nice preview of like what.
Yep. So, maybe I want to come in and I want to add, let's see, we were talking earlier about the clip name. You could add the clip information in, see it gives you an example of how that's going to look. Maybe we add the caption for stills if they want to know, exactly where that still was, all sorts of things that you can add in there.
One useful thing for the clip name too is that depending on your wireless transmitter, that clip identity or the clip ID like A001, C001 will actually get picked up over SDI, even wireless, depending like the Bolt 3000 XT will support that. So if you really wanted to reference which the CDL applies to what clip down to the clip level, it's in there.
Yep, and this is really nice if, for example, you want to export, as I said before, a PFLA file, and you want to hand that over to your loader, for example, that may be backing up all the footage. They can then import all this metadata. It makes it a lot easier for them to find files as well at a later point if they need to. I don't have the chat window.
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
Have you, this is Dane, by the way. Have you seen inside of your uses, a one for 3D cameras where you can make
like a left and a right?
Yeah, well, on Avatar, we had see through or reflected through. So is there a way to add that without, as part of your metadata?
That's a good question. I don't personally have any experience with that. So it's not something
just
I
in
can
the
speak
icon
to.
that you're, just in the metadata window that you were just in. Can you go down? I couldn't.
Oh, are you talking about for exporting a file?
Correct.
Oh,
So
okay,
every time we create a look, we have to add which camera it is, and I didn't see that in there.
Oh,
I guess
okay,
we'll just make one of the custom.
Yep. So right here, you see where I have camera in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this is identifying this file as CCAM.
Yeah, but you have two C cams.
Technically, they're both C cams, so you need an identifier left or right.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
I guess you just make one of the customs. That's what we had on the last one.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I think you'd have to do a custom. Yeah.
But can't you have are you talking about like one of your slots in LiveGrade is one,
okay,
and another slot in LiveGrade is one, right,
so,
Dane?
You know what? Here's what I would do.
That's what we had to do. Yeah.
Right. So you can custom name your slots now, right?
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
Correct.
Yep. So I would come in and I would set that to, slot, right? Slot.
There you go.
No. Yeah. Is it slot suffix? Yeah.
It would be slot, I guess, at that point. You'd have to choose one or the other because your CDLs might be different.
Right. But yeah, you could, as he was saying, just come to your devices here and change the label for your slot.
Okay. Yeah, that's how we're doing it right now. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Good question.
Anything else?
I was going to just suggest it doesn't have a whole lot to do with exporting files, but just while you're talking about all the metadata and all the ways to see stuff,
yes.
Could you just kind of quickly show them the global metadata options that they have, and then after they see that, show them the new search smart groups and how it looks at your global metadata to organize.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So here's all the global metadata that you can now add. So date and time, shot, crew unit, shooting day. Some of the episode, scene, and take was kind of what you were working with before. So they've added a lot of new features. So your smart groups, you can come in and you can set this up, and you can set this up by, set information by episodes. So I actually have to admit, I've not played with the smart groups yet. So
well, if you keep this open, keep the smart group open like this, and then over in your shot library kind of tree on the left, that shows all your scenes. If you go up like click like a top folder or a different folder, you'll see how the smart groups will change.
There you go. Right. Okay.
So then if you want, someone's like, hey, can you just show me, from episode 22, scene 3A, and then you can just kind of quickly go in there and do that.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's great.
It's helpful maybe for recalling.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, especially if, script supervisor is coming over and needs to find something quickly. You're not trying to figure out what the exact shooting day was or anything of that nature.
You can sort by caption as well, right? So you should be able to search by hospital room.
You actually can't do caption.
No, you can't.
I'd like to have caption added to that.
There you go.
Well, Patrick's listening.
I'm sure Patrick is listening right now. I also know that Pico uses this feature over in SilverStack a lot, which he said he would love to see in LiveGrade, which is you can go into a shot and you can actually set labels here. So based on, best take, average take, things of that nature. And then that is usable with the smart folders in LiveGrade. So, here I have one that uses all the best takes. So it'd be really nice to see maybe a labeling system similar to that could also work with the smart groups.
Smart groups are the missing link for sure.
Absolutely. Organization is key. So the more organization we get, the better.
And then this will also port over to the Shot Hub, which we will show you guys in a bit.
Absolutely. Yes. I believe Aaron's talking about that next.
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to see in Chandler's setup? If not, we can move on.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Smart groups are not in SilverStack, but I assume they'll probably be there soon.
Okay, I'm back. Using the cloud. Moving on. How are we doing? Do we want to, we're about an hour and a half in. Everybody's feeling good, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are we going to use the cloud for? Why are we talking about the cloud with Livegrade? Sharing reference stills is the way that I use it the most. And I'll share it on a platform like Google Drive or Dropbox, or perhaps a platform like Frame.io for added security measures. Also, syncing your project library to Pomfret's Shot Hub, which is formerly known as SilverStack Cloud, because you can now add Livegrade information, not just SilverStack information. And that can have some valuable benefits when you're using SilverStack. Shot Hub is brand new in the new 5.2 beta release. So talking about uploading and sharing stills on the cloud. First things first, you need to make sure that this is allowed by your production. Get permission. Big budget jobs or sensitive jobs may not allow you to share the image with anyone ever. So just before the chat window blows up about doing that, just make sure you get the approval, or you're looking at getting fired maybe, because that could be bad. But if you're cool with it, everybody's on board. Producers are like, yeah. Directors, yeah. DPs, yeah. It's pretty helpful. It can be really effective for DPs and other department heads that want to have quick access to an organized catalog of stills. So it's mostly going to be effective on long form projects, features, episodics, things that go on for weeks and months, not necessarily like the 2-day commercial. This isn't really talking about that. So anyone can see the work that's already been shot without having to scrub through dailies or having to go to the script supervisor for answers on continuity and matching. Imagine somebody in the costumes department just couldn't get a still that day, or just for some reason they can't find their note on something. Bam, they just go to this Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever, look it up, and it's right there. It's actually already on their phone. There's nothing that they had to do. It's just there. So for a still that you want to share, a bunch of stills you want to share, you just save it to your shared folder, and the shared folder will auto sync to the cloud as long as you have an active internet connection. At the beginning of a show, I usually ask production for a wireless hotspot for the cart, or you can always just use your cell phone as a hotspot. If you have a hotspot capability on your cell phone, the data use is minimal. I think I go through a whole show using just my phone, and it barely nudges my gigabyte allowance. Always keep your catalog current at any given time, so that a complete history of the show's best stills are available. Contact all the the departments, people listed kind of right there in red on these iPads. Contact them during prep, let them know what you're going to do. If they want in, which they will, have some kind of nice, easy to follow steps they can take to get it going on their device. And, or, if you can't do it at prep, meet them. It's a good way to meet people. Hi, I'm the DIT. I'm here to offer you this little tidbit. And they just giant smiles on their face. Everybody loves it. And an added bonus too is if you're capturing these stills from the live feed, which you are, you're going to have that nice metadata in the surround view. So if there's any question to how the shot was shot, there you go. You got some reinforced information of how you did it. So yeah, I'll use the star ratings in Livegrade to kind of note which are my favorite grabs. I'm kind of take hundreds or thousands of grabs a day kind of guy, but I think I might be quickly switching over to Chandler's workflow of capturing video. I think there's going to be a lot more options with that. But yeah, so I'll kind of, just to keep it all making sense to me in the shot library and in my my shots window, I'll use the either like a flag or rate it 5 stars, rate it 3 stars, something that makes sense. And I'll keep a separate Livegrade bin that has all the best shots of the day, and that's where I'll kind of export my CDLs from later on. We talked about the labels. Okay. So that's just kind of a Finder window example of what you might see in Google Drive or Dropbox or something if you're going to set it up like that, how you can keep it organized. So that's kind of what you just want to stick to it, whatever it is. So I organized here by episode first and then by scene. Our scenes on that show happened to all start with like the episode number. So episode 301, the first scene was 101. Just how they wanted to do it. Make sure your naming conventions make sense. So the naming conventions of the actual JPEGs or TIFFs that you're going to upload. I think I have here, I have scene _ cam and then the camera letter. So what they see on their phone is going to look something like that. So you can see the benefit, but there's also there's a responsibility too that comes with it. If you're going to start doing it, you got to do it always. I don't find that it's not super hands-on. I'm not spending more than a couple seconds a day just saving stills to a shared folder or something. And so you're telling a story with the clips, right? You want to have the key frames, things that are in focus, shots that show, the best lighting choices. You got to cover you want to cover every setup of every scene. So even if it's after the fact, like there was some remote camera or there was a camera you couldn't get the live feed from, an iPhone, a GoPro, something like that, people are still going to want to see that represented. Customize this, however, whatever makes sense to you. Customize it as necessary so that you're adding as much value to the show as possible. All the shows I've done this for, the response has been really tremendous, like I said. Also, you probably want to mention to people, the people that would want to know that what they're seeing here is just what the color decisions were on the day, on the shoot day. It's what you grabbed. It's the best. You're making it look as best you can, but it does not reflect a final color by any means. There could be, colorist decisions later on down the road, and this is just kind of as we do it on set. So it's really just for the people working on set to help them get through the show. Right, next I will talk about ShotHub. Welcome to ShotHub. And this is all just demo type stuff. So I'm going to switch over to Livegrade. Just one moment. And there we go, I think. Seeing Livegrade? I hope.
Yep.
All right. So ShotHub. Let's go into our preferences and go to accounts. This is where your email address and password for Pomfret. You would enter it here, and I can see I am now successfully authenticated. Great, I'm on ShotHub. That was easy. Now up by my the project, you got this little cloud window. So if I was going to add the Advanced Livegrade project to my ShotHub, okay, yep, that's the account I'm using. You can create a new cloud project for this, or let's say I'm in, say I'm using a second machine, third machine, or something like that. Maybe I have somebody from the second unit coming to use their own gear. They can add to another project that's already been made. So maybe I'm already working on this show called Advanced Livegrade. Somebody else comes in, I want their metadata and stills and all this stuff. They just come in here and choose this, and they can start uploading. I think they might have to log in with the same account to do it. In fact, I know you would, but no, it's not too big a deal, I guess. I'd hit next, and of course, I'm going to upload thumbnails. And I would hit start upload, and it would start syncing as long as I have an active internet connection. I'm not going to do it just because I'm going to show you one that I already have. And I'll show you this project here has already been syncing with my my Shot Hub. So you can see, yep, I've included thumbnails, and last upload is right now. It's just synced, got check mark on the cloud. And then before I switch over to the Shot Hub, I just want you to kind of quickly look at my my shot library tree over here. Take just a quick kind of mental snapshot of the folders and bins that I have. So when I want to, one moment, I will switch your screen over. Okay, you're seeing now Shot Hub, yes?
Yep.
All right, and so here's my library, shot library tree. As you can see, it's an exact replica of what was in my project. And so each of these will show a thumbnail, whatever, as much metadata as you want. You can choose any and everything there. You can set a custom preset if you want for which metadata you want to show. You can show a little bit larger still here if I click that button. Now it's just uploading the thumbnail, the really small thumbnail. So it's not uploading a nice, you know, big 16-bit TIFF or something like that. So it's not going to look amazing if I try to go full screen, but it is going to show me what we shot. I can, is it? I'm trying to see if, forget how I can, there was a way I can kind of get rid of this, but I'm not going to worry too much about it.
It's on the far right side there.
Far right? Am I, my window's too small or something. Anyway, so I don't know, for each shot here that I click, it can show me all my metadata. And then if I click here, it can show me all of the grading information. All the nodes are represented, what my LUT was, SAT, CDL, whatever you had going on. Staring at that information is interesting, but not really having anything to do with it. I can't really do anything with that. I'm not going to like write down individual numbers and email that information to post. So it would be really good actually to have the ability to kind of download my CDLs maybe from this interface. You could see how that would be useful.
Super useful.
Yeah, maybe even being able to adjust the look. I'm not sure exactly how they can implement that, but just a suggestion.
Yeah, speaking to that, Pico, there's been a lot of times where I've run across a situation where the loader, for some reason, forgot to copy over a CDL folder or something of that nature. And so once it got to post at the end of the night, they were like, hey, we don't have the CDL file. So it'd be really handy if you could just download those directly from Shot Hub.
Agreed. So what can I do with this information? One very cool thing that we can now do with Shot Hub, if you're using SilverStack, not sure what versions of SilverStack it works on, maybe all of them. I'm using SilverStack Lab. And I'm using the new beta as well. This is a new feature with the beta. I'm going to switch over to SilverStack now and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, you're seeing SilverStack, right? So because I am syncing see my project here, Corporate Season 3. I synced up a Corporate Season 3 Livegrade project to the Shot Hub. Now I can essentially access all that information in SilverStack as well. Chandler showed you in his workflow how you can use the PFLA file to kind of auto match looks. This kind of takes it a step further. So now we can import match Pomfret looks from Shot Hub. All right, so if I have, here's corporate, it found my project. If I have a bin set up that's, just has the CDLs, my favorite CDLs, the ones that I actually want to use, with some metadata attached, or maybe if I'm using, like Chandler did, the clip look identifier. So just to show you how this works, you can hear in SilverStack, here I am in day 28. So I just selected B camera roll 110. You can see there's no look supplied there. So I'll just click the bin that I know has all my favorite CDLs and hit fetch. So it's searching now. Search my Shot Hub project, and it found many good things. So I'm telling it to look by episode, scene, shot, take. So it found clips that are these scene numbers, these take numbers. It found those mostly because I have already synced sound with the sound mixers files. So that auto-populated that metadata. So that's all there. So it found all that. I'm getting blue check marks across the board, which means, yep, all those clips that you want to match looks, we got to look for you. Great. And same thing, I can take over metadata from what I used in Livegrade as well. So you just hit apply looks, and just like the PFLA, it works the exact same way. It just auto applies your look. So it's a little bit, it needs a little bit of work. I found a few bugs with it. Me and some of the good people at Pomfret are kind of working out a few bugs. So it's not, I found not every project is exactly perfect, but the bugs are getting worked out and it's going to be perfect. And I think I'm going to use it a lot, actually. So this is, let me just look at my notes.
There's a good question if this is supported in SilverStack XT or only lab.
Don't know. Patrick?
Patrick, do you want to comment on that? There he is.
Hello, everyone. That would be, I'm not 100% sure because we had some back and forth on this. I think if I remember right, then the look matching functionality is in all of the SilverStacks, or at least in XT and Lab. And so the cloud matching functionality will be available for all the SilverStack versions that have the PFLA workflow also, because we want to like improve that. So, but I can't recall exactly. I need to look that up. I will get back to the chat or later. I will know then if it's available in SilverStack as well.
Cool. Last thing I wanted to say, and then we'll move on to like a Q&A, is that this would be super helpful if you had, if you're on a job where you have like a second DIT that's handling all the downloading and all the transcoding with SilverStack. Essentially, they will have all of your grades, all of your looks before they even get the footage handed to them. So there's not going to be any kind of like having to save files and passing it on a hard drive, or using an AirDrop or anything like that. It's as long as everybody's got an active internet connection, it's pretty much the work's already done for you. So,
yeah, ideally the viewing of stills would be in Shot Hub as well. So you weren't having to use like Google Drive separately. It would all just be in Shot Hub.
Agreed. I would definitely use Shot Hub a lot. Actually, I'll switch back over to the Shot Hub interface real quick. If I can find it. I just wanted to show one more quick thing.
It is brand new, so I'm sure Patrick and the team are going to be adding a ton of stuff. But right now, it's definitely a good sign of where things are going.
This is in this little info window. This is where you can invite users. So you can invite your DP, you can invite the producer, whoever you like.
Oh, that's where you would do contributors, by the way. So you could share it with someone that has write access, but viewers would just only be able to view the information.
There you go, just like that.
Yeah. So second unit DIT would be contributor.
Perhaps we should yeah, everyone to see thumbnails or not. Maybe we should the ability to have like a password protection, password entry to this instead of just sending it to an email and then they have access. They should have some kind of maybe they could add that. Potentially watermarking stills would be interesting. I would like that a lot if a still could have the option to be watermarked to that person's name. So then I feel really good about an extra level of security there with the images getting out. That's all I got on ShotHub and sharing and syncing stills on things like Google Drive. So any questions on that?
Do we know the cost yet after the free trial?
The cost of ShotHub?
Yes, and of course, everyone needs to be on the same version of Livegrade if you're sharing between DITs. Do we know the cost yet?
I haven't heard of any cost. I know that you can have 5 projects currently, and then you can archive 20 projects. But as far as I've seen, I haven't seen any kind of pricing. If there's any kind of if it actually costs, is there an added?
Can we confirm that the cost will stay free?
I cannot confirm that right now. So
just include it in our subscription. I mean, we're paying a couple, you know, half. I'm paying $1,000 a year. Anyone else?
Yep.
Yeah. So the prices are, or the kind of how much is included for free. This is currently discussed and currently try to find out also on how you guys are using it and are going to use it. So it's more like an ongoing thing to find out, because we also know that every thermostat has its own cloud and it comes for free with it. But on the other hand, we feel as soon as like production is going to be involved and benefits a lot by having direct access to like a film set information that you guys are providing, we feel just, I mean, I understand that you feel it should be included in Silverstack, but on the other hand, we feel a little bit that the production should also somehow, if the value is high for them, it might have a price then, this cloud integration with them. So, but that's to figure out still, and therefore it's a beta. I mean, every cloud also has its beta, so that's.
Good point. Any questions about the ShotHub or Patrick from Pomfret's on here, so you can ask him questions right now. There was a request, Patrick, for like encryption on the viewing stills. If they were high-res stills, you know, say uploaded as well, we would want them watermarked, you know, based on the user, but we want production to feel safe that the stills are encrypted or the whole access is just like really locked down.
Yes, watermarking for individual users was very high on the list.
Awesome.
But that just didn't make it into that beta, so that has definitely high priority.
Sweet.
I just wanted to add, I don't know if I got that wrong, inviting people also, so inviting someone as a participant in that project sends them a link, but that link leads them to a page where they need to sign up to an account themselves. So it's not that they get the link and can share them with others again. It's just an invitation for that one account. If that person doesn't have an account, it needs to create one, which is again password protected. So it's not a direct access link for now.
Right.
Patrick, I have a question. Is there, if for whatever reason we do this project in ShotHub and we have multiple DITs and we're sharing a project, and for whatever reason one of the others gets fired and production doesn't want them to be able to have access to it, can we revoke their access or confirm to production that it's been revoked?
Good call.
That's also part of that block of user security. I will take a note again that revoking, I'm sure that is either possible or is still on the list, but that's an important thing that's noted definitely.
Thank you.
Awesome. So anybody have any more questions? If not, we're going to actually entertain a 10-minute bathroom break. Go stretch your legs, your arms, and then meet us back here at 12:06.
Thanks. See you in 10.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll be back in 10 minutes, guys. 12:06 LA time. All right, we're going to get started in about 1 minute, guys. All right. Pico, you there? You ready to get started?
I am here and I am ready. Thank you.
Just so everyone knows, we're probably about halfway through this, and we're going to start getting to some much deeper topics. So buckle in.
Thanks. Further into the dailies round trip. I just said further because I believe in our last session on Livegrade, we did talk about this a little bit, but we didn't really show exactly what we meant, and I kind of want to just show it, the whole thing. So this is about trust and verify. So make sure this is making sure that you verify that you are maintaining color consistency through the dailies process, and therefore can trust what is being seen by people in places where you are not is accurate. This is you following up, checking your work, checking the colorist work. This is something you would want to bring up in your prep with the either the dailies colorist or the dailies operator. You know, you would say, I want several reference stills for at least the first week so I can trust that my grades are being applied accurately. So you'd want to compare the stills that the colorist would then send back to you with what you captured on set or what you're seeing on set. And it should be exactly the same. And if it's not, that's your chance to address those issues and get it fixed. So ideally, they would send, you know, you're going to send them a reference still of a particular setup. They should match that same frame. They should kind of find that exact same frame in the time code and send you a still back so that you can kind of see A/B. So let's get into it. I'm going to go over to Livegrade. Okay, here's Livegrade. So, for example, this one that's this shot that's highlighted is a still that I grabbed. I have the scene number, all the metadata that I needed for the day. This is just a quick commercial shoot. So I'm going to send that image along with a CDL to post, along with my LUT and everything that they need, just like Chandler talked about with exporting stills and all that. So what I'm going to ask for back is a nice clean image with my looks applied. So here's two different images right here. So what I would do is I would just import my image from there, find it on the drive or whatever they send it to me, pull it back in. Of course, it's not going to have any metadata attached to it. So I'm going to go to my library bin. I'm going to make this window nice and big so you can see what I'm up to here. This is showing me what's in my library. And that's what I grabbed. So now I want to, if I select this, it's just going to switch over to it because I have this library button selected. So I'm going to go back to my still that I grabbed. I'm just going to use as a reference. And now I have, something doesn't look right. So mine looked a little darker than theirs. For some reason theirs is a little brighter, but it is the same frame. That's good. What was this colorist thinking? Not a good lineup. Let's go to our scopes and see what's going on here.
And Pico, would you look at this over SDI as well?
Yes, of course. This I'm going to have coming out of my external video and routing that onto a grading monitor. I'm not just going to trust my computer monitor. I want to see it on the monitor that I graded the shot. Right, that's no good. So you can see here, highlights are way off as I scrub back and forth here. Okay, something went wrong. So I go back and I talk to the Dailies lab. What'd you do? What happened? Oh, this, that. Okay, let's fix it. Send me a new still. Here's a new still, this one right here. I'm gonna right click this one, use as reference. Aha, that looks better. Just by eye, just by scrubbing back and forth, I can tell that's good. And by looking at my scopes down here, you can see as I'm moving the needle, scopes are staying the same.
What are you looking for specifically?
On the scopes?
Yeah.
Or, I'm making sure that my red, green, blue waveform is all lining up. My Luma, everything. So I can go over to, just go to my, oh, it's right here. Just go to my Y channel, look at just my luminance. I don't want to see any shift. I don't want to see anything looking any different. The only thing I'm seeing different right now is one still has the metadata and the frame lines and one doesn't. The rest of it's staying the same. You can also look at the vector scope too. Look over here and make sure that thing's not bouncing up and down at all. That's staying the same. I am going to call that a perfect match and satisfied with the work that they're doing over at the lab. Hopefully I have one of those reference stills for every setup of the day. Like I said, for at least the first week or so, just so you can, just so every single scenario is coming through correct, and then it's up to you how frequent you want to get them. Any questions on that?
Is there a way to mark it good?
Is there a way to mark it good?
Yeah. Is it
mark the?
Is there a way to mark it good?
Yeah, I got a 5-star rating here.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I think at this point you would talk to Post, right? And just be like, hey, everything's lining up. We're doing the right thing.
Yeah, right. Circle back to them, tell them everything's good. Make sure everybody. And
we just want to point out, some people have said that they've had issues, getting stills from the Dailies lab in the past. They can send you a slate, with your CDL and LUT applied. Like if it's very, very sensitive project, just find something, shoot a chart, but like get the confirmation that what you're sending to Post is working. There's always a way to make it work, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Good to move on. Anything else? Any more questions, comments? Further things we want to mention, Jamie? I think we should get going.
Yeah, we're good. Let's do it.
Oh, okay. Let me switch my project real quick and we'll move on. One moment. Oh wait, wrong project, that's why. There we go. Okay, back to Livegrade here. And we're going to talk about lens filters and possibly sensor CDL node presets. I'll flash the title card just so we can make a nice chapter mark later on. Okay, I touched on this in the first demo, and I thought maybe I could go through it a little more, talk about it a little more, and go through it a little more thoroughly. So when would you want to do a CDL node preset? Why is it useful? So for multi-camera productions or on a feature TV show that moves really quickly and there's a lot of lenses and they don't match, it can be helpful to have a collection of CDL nodes to modify the look of the scene when lenses or filters are changed. This requires attention to the color and contrast variations of the lenses and filters in your prep. The goal is to have the freedom to design the look of the scene knowing that you can quickly maintain the aesthetic, even though lenses and filters with varying color differences are being used. This method could also be an alternative to, say, constantly changing camera settings like white balance and tint to match whatever lens you have on. Best methods, right. So one of the ways that I've done it is put up a color checker. You can see I got my color checkers here. And with each lens at the same stop, and this pick a color temperature of light. With each lens, grab a still. Put on a lens, grab a still. Put on another lens, grab a still. I went ahead and named the episodes after the lens types, and then the scene after like the millimeter of lens. So just to keep things in order. So we had B cam Pancros, A cam Pancros, GL optics, uncoated Pancros, zooms. We had a lot of lenses. Those are each a lens that we had. We changed them all the time. So then I made a, over in my look library here, I made a bin for each type of lens. And there's a node preset here for each lens. So what I did was I found, using my scopes, using like RGB and vector scope and, oh, I think I'm getting a delivery. 1 second. Hello.
You coffee?
Oh, thank you, love. I just got coffee brought to me.
Awesome.
How you like that? Whew, here we go. Right. So in looking at the RGB parade, I found the lens that the parade looked the most even for a white balance at a certain color temperature. So my A camera Pancro 25 mil happened to be very neutral. There wasn't a lot of shift in the parade on the waveform. And so I called that my quote unquote constant. I'm gonna basically make all the other lenses match this one. The stills from all the other lenses. So I'd take the still, take it into the library, you know, do a reference. Unfortunately, I don't still have all these files, so I can't do a complete demo for the color checker. But just like I did with the round trip, you put a still in the library and then you use as a reference, or you put the one that you want to color into the library. So I'd make adjustments, and then I would add a node preset, and I'm going to show you how I did that. One thing to keep in mind, very important actually, is when you're going through and you're creating these, this little word right here, lens, and I think I'll annotate that, because me saying this right here might not be the right way to show. I'm going to draw a box around it. That. Hopefully you can see that. It says lens.